Hey, good day everyone, HK here. So what are we doing today? Well, I'm actually heading up to Townsville, heading down to Townsville to suss out a couple of new boats. Well, they're not new, the second-hand boats, but I might also be looking at one of the dealerships. What? No. The problem always has been is that this being the perfect boat for creeks. You know, it's small enough, but it's still big enough to actually, you know, get out in a little bit of choppy water. But really don't feel that it's an appropriate size boat to be going out to the islands like the Palm Islands or the Reef. Look, heading out on a really good day. What? A bigger boat? No, that is what we've been talking about for the last couple of months. No upgrades. So what was the other issue I had? This thing. Yep. There is nothing wrong with the actual unit. It doesn't have spot lock, which is a disadvantage. But the other issue also is that you spend your time trying to navigate, you know, on a foot control with this thing when you're not fishing. So, and things don't go exactly right because, you know, these things are, you know, they're a bit cumbersome to use. You know, I can see the use for spot lock, certainly. And but do I want to spend $3 grand? I don't know, you know, because see, I'm an old guy and we used to fish a long time ago without these things. In fact, I think I was catching more fish back then than I am now. Okay, so what are some of the issues then? So, you know, to troll or not to troll? Well, look, there's plenty of advantages. You can certainly sneak up on fish. I learned a lot quite some years ago, probably about 10 years ago, from a fellow down south who used to be very successful at catching reds or snapper in places where, you know, most blokes would go, nah, that's not where you're going to go. Because what he used to do, and you know, I had no experience with trolling motors at that time. So he had I can't remember what brand it was, it certainly wasn't a spot lock thing, but he'd have his marks set up on where he caught reds previously, and he would go back to those marks, cast, unbelievably, actually get a fish on the drop, and as soon as I'd caught the fish, and we used to keep fish at that time to eat, he would actually put his trolling motor on. He wouldn't start his engine, and he'd make a big circle around and then come back to another mark that he'd put fairly close to the first mark. And he reckoned that it was a very important thing to not spook fish. And the big advantage, of course, with a trolling motor is that you can do this sort of stuff quietly. Now, when I used to fish for brim down south, and certainly up around Malakuta as well, and you know, on the south coast, I did learn the advantages of having a trolling motor sneaking up on brim, because brim definitely are easily spooked. Okay, but what's the problem? What was the problem that I had last time? The last time I fished over, or a couple of times that I fished here, because the tidal, the currents over here can be, you know, fairly robust. I was using my trolling motor over here a lot different than I used to use it down south, because down south I would use the motor to sneak up near a bank for casting into structure, chasing bream. But over here it's a little bit different, because generally the tidal flow over here, unless you of course go when there's neap tides, run a lot more. So you use the trolling motor to try and get close to a spot, I suppose. But unless you have spot lock, you're continually correcting, and so you're spending a lot of time trying to navigate the boat with the trolling motor instead of actually concentrating on casting. That's my experience. There's probably plenty of you out there would say, well, that's not how you do it. Okay, then educate me, comment. So I guess really the question for me is this. For me, the only use for a trolling motor actually is, okay, sneaking up on, onto the bank, that's fair enough. But to actually have spot lock. So the big question is, do I want to spend $3,000 on a trolling unit that has spot lock? Now, and after reading forums and a few YouTube videos and stuff, these spot lock things are not without issues, because they're electronic, they rely on GPS and all that sort of stuff. So I'm thinking to myself, why am I trying to complicate my an activity which is supposed to give me relaxation and chill out time, when you have to contend with issues that can become a real nuisance and frustration even. That's why for now I'm going to do without and see how that pans out. Yeah, give it a couple of months, and then I'll go back to you and see if I will buy a trolling unit with spot lock or not. So am I going to go out and buy and spend $3,000 on a new motor guide or a Minn Kota? Not at the moment. I'm actually thinking I'm just going to wait. I'm going to go and play around with this boat for the next 6-7 weeks and get back to more old school fishing. Bit more bait fishing perhaps, and try live baiting. And I haven't really tried my hand at crabbing yet. Got a crab net, so I might do that, so let's see what happens. So I'll just have to take that base off, and as well, the water snake would weigh probably around 25 kilos, I reckon. And then the AGM, the marine battery that I've got sitting here in the front, well, that weighs at least 35 kilos because it's a big bastard. So that's a weight saving nearly of a small person's weight. So what will I get out of that? Hopefully a little bit better performance, and that doesn't go astray either. Thanks for watching, and short episode, but that's how it is. Please like, if you liked it, of course, and subscribe. It's free, and you can follow us on the next however many episodes that are still to come. Have a good day. See ya.